Hi, how's everyone today? Coming up, we've got Mark Carney and his merry band of minions taking over a plant playing dress up. We've got MP Michael Cooper, cowboy from Alberta, exposing carbon tax Carney. And we've also got Minister Melanie Joly zipping through things in Quebec with Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Let's take a look and listen to things that are going on in Canadian federal politics. In Canadian federal politics, the Canucks are represented by two separate yet unequal groups: the globalists who sold out and the opposition trying to salvage a country. These are their stories. So to start off, we've got Mark Carney and his merry band of minions. He's got Chris Biddle, who's a disaster, Anita Anand, Karina Gould, Andrew Vandenkolven. All the losers, seem to have come out to back up Carney as he tries to be charming to Canadians. I don't think it's going to work. Let's take a look.
There we go. So this is a dream. I get to speak to you, and you all have earplugs in, and you can't hear me. It's a dream for you, not for me. Listen, I came here. I wanted to come here today. Mark Carney, by the way. I wanted to come here today because this is such an exceptional company, and it's an exceptional company because of you, because of the workers and the relationship that Dofasco ArcelorMittal has always had with its workers. I first came to this site, obviously not to this line, because this represents hundreds of millions of dollars of investment and ingenuity. But I first came to this site 30 years ago, when Dofasco was also the leader at that time, and the workers were the leaders. And today is a difficult day for Canada. It's a difficult day for the industry because of these unjustified tariffs that have been put on. We and my colleagues in the government want to make absolutely clear that we stand foursquare with you in this, and we are doing several things. First, about the same time as we're having this conversation, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Foreign Affairs are announcing that we will put in place reciprocal tariffs on U.S. steel, on U.S. aluminum, and on a series of other U.S. goods, so the total amount of our tariffs match the American tariffs. Now, we don't want to do this because we believe in open borders and free and fair trade, but we're doing this in response. The second thing is that we are going to make sure that all the proceeds from our tariffs go back to support workers in the affected industries, so in the steel industry, in the aluminum industry, and any other industry that the Americans may affect. In addition, we will double down on the partnerships that we have with the industry. As you know, a lot of the big investments here have been in partnership with the federal government, with the Ontario government, the so-called SIF fund as one example. We are proud of what you have accomplished. It's a remarkably competitive company. It's a world leader who's going to be here for another 30 years, another 30 years after that, another 30 years after that. And I know there's multi-generations of workers here, and your children and your children's children will have opportunities to work at Dofasco and ArcelorMittal. Let me just say one other point, or make a couple other points with respect to the United States and the relationship there. I respect President Trump's concern for American workers and American families. We respect his concern about fentanyl. It's an issue for us here in Canada as well, and that's why the Canadian government moved very quickly with a comprehensive response that has had a huge impact in terms of controlling that issue and getting on top of that issue much better. We are ready to sit down with the Americans, with the U.S. government. I'm ready to sit down with President Trump at the appropriate time under a position where there's respect for Canadian sovereignty, and we're working for a common approach, a much more comprehensive approach for trade. we're all going to be better off. Workers here in Canada, which is our concern, workers in America, which is his concern. We are all going to be better off when the greatest economic and security partnership in the world is renewed, relaunched. That's possible. You have a new government, but the same commitment, and that commitment is built rock solid on the commitment you have all made here at Dofasco.
Up next, we have Michael Cooper, an MP from Alberta, one of our favorites. He's a cowboy, in my opinion. Doesn't look or sound like a cowboy, but he does rope in Mark Carney and exposes the carbon tax carnage that will be coming. Let's take a look at that too.
Mark Carney's values are for sale. Carney is best known as Carbon Tax Carney, and for good reason, because for years, Carney has been arguably the loudest global cheerleader for the carbon tax.
On the carbon price, we're demonstrating leadership. For example, here in Canada, the carbon price path, price on pollution, I don't know the polite way to say it, but the carbon price path out to $170 by 2030 is exactly the right policy.
It is as important that the government has set out this path for the carbon price out to $170 by 2030 with the rebates for Canadians.
For Carney, the carbon tax is more than a policy. It goes to the core of who he claims to be. So much so that Carney prominently featured the carbon tax in his book entitled Values, Mark Carney's Values. In Values, Carney wrote that the carbon tax is one of the most important policies of our lifetime. According to Carney, Trudeau's carbon tax is a model for the rest of the world. But now that Carney is running to be Prime Minister, he's suddenly flip-flopped on his beloved carbon tax, telling Canadians that he would cancel Trudeau's carbon tax. This demonstrates that Carney's values are negotiable. They're for sale. So much for Carney's values. He's someone who clearly cannot be trusted. Carney will say and do anything to get elected. And consistent with this, while Carney is telling Canadians that he would cancel the carbon tax, he's telling radical Liberal Party carbon tax zealots that he would replace Trudeau's carbon tax with a new tax, an even bigger tax on key Canadian producers, costs that would be passed on to Canadian consumers. Carney can call this new tax whatever he wants, but what it really is a carbon tax, an even bigger carbon tax. Carney's claim that he would cancel Trudeau's carbon tax is nothing more than a cheap political gimmick in an effort to trick Canadians before the next election. But make no mistake about it, if Carney is elected, he would impose an even bigger carbon tax than Trudeau when he no longer needs your vote, but still needs your money. Only a common-sense conservative government led by Pierre Poilievre will axe the carbon tax on everything, for everyone, for good.
Last thing for this video, we've got Minister of Foreign Affairs Melanie Joly zipping through things, meeting with Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State for the United States, trying to discuss these tariffs. Anyways, Melanie Joly, time's up. We need an election. Let's take a look.
Okay, good. So, welcome everyone. Bienvenue au Québec, au Canada, à Charlevoix. It's really a pleasure to see all of you, to host you here. I'm grateful to be hosting you here on traditional territory of the Innu, and at the same time next to the beautiful St. Lawrence River, which is so core to Canada's history and of course to our shared prosperity. Donc je tiens aussi à remercier les gens de la Malbaie ici de la région de Charlevoix pour leur accueil chaleureux, parce que ça me fait plaisir de ultimement être capable d'inviter chaleureusement ici les ministres des Affaires étrangères du G7 chez moi. So Canada is proud to hold the G7 presidency this year. As we mark the 50 years of G7 cooperation, I cannot find a better time for us to host this important meeting. There's a saying here in Quebec, on a du pain sur la planche. So we have a lot to do together, and it's true. We have a lot of bread on our plate, and to be working together on common challenges. So I think that here as G7 foreign minister, we must meet the moment, and it is up to us to do that task. And we should not be daunted by the task. I think we should be working together to meet this moment. In recent years, we've shown it in many ways, maybe to curb the COVID-19 pandemic, maybe also for a strong response to defend Ukrainian sovereignty, or again to counter foreign interference. We've worked together also to champion human rights, democracy, and the protection of vulnerable communities from violence and persecution around the world. So, of course, peace and stability is on the top of our agenda, and I look forward to discussing how we can continue to support Ukraine in the face of Russia's illegal aggression, and we will want to see just and lasting peace in Ukraine. Of course, we want to foster long-term stability as well in the Middle East in the interest of all the people in the region, and we want to build resilience and stability in the Indo-Pacific, in Haiti, and in Venezuela. We also want to make sure that we bring back peace and stability in Sudan and in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Alors nous allons parler de l'Ukraine, du Moyen-Orient, de l'Indo-Pacifique, de l'Afrique, d'Haïti, du Venezuela. And of course, my goal for our meeting is to advance collective thinking and collective solutions, and want to make sure that we can address some of the challenges that are linked to the maritime dimension, including what we're seeing to restrict freedom of navigation, growing the use of growing shadow fleets, dark vessels, sabotage of critical undersea infrastructure, illegal fishing, and the loss of maritime biodiversity. And I want to make sure also that we look at the issue of growing strategic contestation in the Red Sea, in the South and East China Seas, and the Taiwan Strait. So, looking forward to making sure that this is a success, working with all my friends and colleagues around this table. Et au plaisir de pouvoir répondre à vos questions.
That's it, guys. We're going to wrap up the video right there. Ehren, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe, get notified, all those fun things. We're learning about Canadian federal politics, sharing with you the stuff that I'm seeing. That's it. Thank you for watching this video. Come and join us for one of our live shows. We're doing more of those. That's it. Canadian Looney right here. Ehren, we'll catch you next video. Later, gang. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.